Really sorry if my frame keeps changing every single week. I don't know what I'm doing anymore. I left my sound on. Konnichiwa minasan, and welcome back to my channel, but more importantly, welcome back to Reina Sensei, where I answer your Japanese questions or translate things into Japanese using the hashtag Reina Sensei on Twitter. Alright, so this is a continuation of last week's Reina Sensei, where I answered all of your Japan travel questions, specifically because my really good friends are gonna take their honeymoon in Japan, and I figured that the kind of things that I like, they would enjoy, and also the kinds of things you guys might be interested, they might enjoy as well. I believe this is where I left off. Schmack! At Aqualion 2001, if I had a pretty big tattoo, would it offend? I feel like I'm stereotyping here, but everything I've seen online has said tattoos are bad in Japan. Unfortunately, unless you're in a major city like Tokyo, it's probably not the best. You should either cover it up somehow with your clothing, or, I mean, you don't have to go so far as to cover it up with makeup or anything like that. And also, since you're foreign, you can definitely have that, like, gaijin power, and not, they definitely won't be offended. They understand that foreigners have tattoos and they treat them differently. So Tokyo, you're fine, but if you go to more of the countryside, yeah, you probably are gonna have to be a little bit more mindful about it. So the reason why tattoos are kind of bad, and I went into it a little bit in my last video, I believe, but they are still Yakuza related in Japan. So if you have a tattoo, you're either related to Yakuza or maybe you do some business with them. And how they're mostly used right now in like the West, like more country areas, is generally for security and protection. The traditional use of Yakuza members would be to protect your business establishment or your home. And if you allow people that have tattoos inside of your shop or your establishment, it basically marks that area in saying that you do business with Yakuza. So if you have a tattoo and you're in the countryside, a lot of people will reject your business, unfortunately. But like I said, if you're foreign, you're probably okay. And if that offends you, you should hang out in Tokyo or in the city, because you're going to be totally fine over there. I did run into an instance once where my friend who has a big tattoo was asked to be moved from a certain cart of a train. Like, we were in like cart, let's say 8, and we were asked to move like all the way to the back or all the way to the front. I don't know which one, but yeah, wherever the conductor wasn't is the end that we were brought to. So yeah, sorry. Next is Exoric at Exoric. What is the proper etiquette when going out to bars? I don't know, because I don't drink very much. I would say bars in the city, they're pretty rowdy, and I think you're gonna be fine. Like, I suggest going to check out the Hub, which is everywhere all over Tokyo, and it's basically like a British pub kind of thing, and it's very foreigner friendly, and the drinks are yum. But yeah, you could just be rowdy and do whatever there. But if you were to go to maybe a more classy Ginza or Roppongi type of bar, you have to have a relationship with the bartender, which sounds a little weird, but like I said, I don't really go out that often and I don't do fancy pants things, but I do believe you're supposed to really talk to the bartender, barkeep, boss, owner, master, whatever you want to call them. You really want to ask them for their opinion about what their tastes are, and maybe ask about their shop, something like that. And you definitely want to always acknowledge them. You kind of don't go to bars to have loud conversations with whom you're with. I don't know. Yeah, there's kind of a weird culture there, but be mindful. If you just want to get drunk and have a great time and be loud and crazy, definitely just go to a fun bar in Shinjuku, Shibuya, or anything like that. They're all really like, they're basically like American bars, so you could behave however you want to. Next, Manan at Vomit Dragon. Being an extremely picky eater, how would I survive a day in Japan? It depends on what kind of picky you are. If you don't like vegetables and seafood, you are going to have a really rough time. There is seafood broth in everything, and by seafood broth, I mean it's not necessarily like fish broth. It doesn't smell fishy, but because it's made out of seaweed or kelp, and the base is something like miso, it really does take on this kind of oceany flavor. There are obviously a bunch of different foods that have nothing to do with that, and you can pretty much survive off of just fast food in Japan, I believe. So don't let food stop you from going, but it's kind of unfortunate because food is so magnificent over there. If you're a picky eater, it definitely takes away one huge aspect of going to Japan, but it also shouldn't stop you from going there. There are so many other things to enjoy other than the food in Japan. But let's see. Yeah, I'd say if you really, I don't know what kind of picky you are. Like I have a friend who like only eats french fries and chicken nuggets. Even they would have a good time in Japan because there's a McDonald's, and there's also a bunch of fast food places that serve really yummy chicken nuggets and french fries, so you wouldn't really even get bored of it. Yeah, something for everyone. Tom Fitney at Pikaweeb. Have you ever been to Hokkaido? I'm doing a homestay in Sapporo and was wondering if there were any cool surrounding areas for either anime-related ventures and or cool nature views. Okay, I've never been to Hokkaido, or I have, but I was just a baby, so I don't know anything about it. I know they are definitely known for their farmland and their dairy and their delicious food, so you must definitely go on like a food journey when you go there. However, I really am definitely not the person to ask. If you guys know a lot about Hokkaido, you other guys, and know about Sapporo, please help out Tom Fitney in the comment section below and give some suggestions on what to do in Hokkaido or Sapporo. More specifically, Sapporo. Sorry. Next, Mystic Wolf at Mystic Wolf PT, the correct manners towards the Japanese people in various situations, like in a restaurant, a traditional Japanese inn, etc. Alright, so I said this in the last Reina Sensei video, but I'll reiterate. I'm not a Japan expert, obviously. I knew nothing about Hokkaido, so I can only kind of suggest what not to do. It would be really hard for me to tell you like exactly what to do, but it's a little bit difficult for me to determine because you do have this foreigner veil that you get to use, and Japan is extremely forgiving. Meanwhile, if I were to do something strange that's an etiquette no-no, I would get destroyed. So specifically when eating, you really do, even if you're not talking to anybody in particular, you do want to say itadakimasu right before you start your meal. You don't have to necessarily pray, put your hands together, and put your like chopsticks in between this like thumb area. You don't have to do all of that, but acknowledging that someone made your food for you and served it to you is a big deal, so you just want to say itadakimasu. And another thing is with chopsticks, you never want to place them vertical into your food ever. You always want to put them down horizontal, parallel to your table, because when you put them up vertically, it's something symbolic that we do at funerals and something that we do to communicate, so to speak, with the dead. It's how we feed our dead. So yeah, you don't want to do that. No one in Japan will think well of you if you do that. It's not even a religious thing, like it's just something we as a culture just don't accept because it relates to death. Another thing about chopsticks, there are usually this thing, it's a chopstick placeholder mabobber, and you're supposed to place the side that touches the food, as in like the skinny side, the tapered side, onto it. You rest your chopsticks there. So if they have that available for you in a restaurant or at your homestay or wherever you're staying, please rest your chopsticks there. There's no need to put it over the bowl. There's no need to put it anywhere else. You want to just place it right where they kind of tell you to place it. And you should say gochisousama at the end of your meal towards whoever is paying for the meal or whoever prepared the meal, brought it to you, anybody. It really, like, you're not talking to yourself even if you paid for the meal. You're saying gochisousama to the world. What's another thing about restaurant? Oh, right, okay, in a restaurant, do not leave a tip. Japan is not a tip service country, and you're not going to offend them, but you're going to confuse them a lot, and it's not really helpful to them to take money from you because they'll probably have to, like, show it to their managers and explain it to them, and it's just not a good situation. They're not going to appreciate it, and you're not going to be able to show your gratitude via money. So just be very thankful. Be very verbally thankful. Brian Robertson at Stacker Z, the city is cool and all, but what are some awesome countrysides? Oh, I think I talked about this already in the last video, but I love Kotemba, Hakone. I love Shizuoka because I'm from Shizuoka. I really also want to go to Nara. I've never been there. I know there's a deer park there. But yeah, I don't go west very often, but when I think about not city, I want to go to parks and I want to go to like nature things. So Nara feels like a good idea. Also, if you, oh, speaking of the West, the Monkey Park in Kyoto is awesome as well. But let's see, if we're talking a little bit more closer to Tokyo, well, I know, like I said, I mentioned this already, but I really liked Tochigi. I loved Edo Wonderland. That was such a fun, deep culture experience while also kind of getting to play. Eric Chamorro at Eric Not Estrada. What's a good city to travel to for a first-time traveler to Japan? Easy, Tokyo for sure. You don't need to speak Japanese whatsoever. All the signs are in English. The train is a little bit confusing, but if you have a Suica card, it's not as horrible. And if you have a Japan Rail Pass, then it's like amazingly easy to understand because you don't have to worry about your expenses and you could just go back and forth until you realize that you're not messing up anymore. Anyway, yes, Tokyo is the place to be for a first-time traveler to Japan. And this next one's from Ephraim P at Efron79. I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing it wrong. Hi Reina, do you have a favorite onsen hot spring resort, and would you recommend going to one in the summer months? I recommend going to as many onsen as physically possible on your trip to Japan, and if you can get yourself to an onsen with real onsen water from a hot spring, then definitely try for that. Summer in Japan is extremely hot and disgusting and humid, but the minerals in the onsen make your skin feel a lot better, and also it kind of, I think it makes your circulation a little bit better so you don't feel nearly as disgusting all the time. I don't know, I just really like taking baths, so that's probably just what I'm telling myself. And I'm from Shizuoka, like I said earlier, really close to Mount Fuji, so I have a lot of really nice onsen areas around me, so I've been a little bit spoiled about it. So my favorite onsen hot spring resort would be Kiranosato, which is, I think, in either Ito or Izu Hakone dakke. I don't know, I don't remember which, I'm sorry, but I made a whole video about it, so I'll link it in the description below if you're interested in that. But one that is a little bit more foreigner friendly is this place called Gotemba Kogen Jibiru. I think it's actually just Gotemba Kogen, and it's like a huge hotel area, and then they have a huge lodge area, and then they have these different weird like little mini houses that you can stay in, which sound kind of crazy, but it's amazing. And then there are a lot of different onsen nearby that you can kind of just hop to. You have to pay a rate for the night or the day, but it's so much fun, and they have these incredible illuminations during a certain time of year. Obviously it sandwiches Christmas and New Year's, but that is actually where I went with my mom. It's honestly fun to go there at any point in the year because, like I said, when it sandwiches Christmas and New Year's, you'll see all the illuminations, and the tunnel that has all the illuminations exists throughout the year, and different things are in there. For example, in the summer they'll have all of these like summer festival type of things, and then in the spring they have a lake that has a lot of sakura blossoms all over the place, so you'll see all of that blooming in the spring, and in the autumn you'll have more festival things, I believe, that go on there. And I think they have food festivals, like specific autumn food festivals there. So yeah, you cannot go wrong with Gotemba Kogen. Next, Christopher Cord at Power Cord. What time of year is best to visit Japan, and what are your personal favorite areas to visit? The best time of year to visit Japan is, it really depends on what you're into. If you want to go cheap and convenient, definitely go in the autumn and fall because the plane tickets are cheap. Everybody goes back to school or work, so there are no big like random vacation days in there, so you're gonna have an easy time mapping out your schedule. In the summer, it's amazing, but it is really hot and sticky and humid, and everybody vacations there, so there's just way too many people everywhere. Like, you're not gonna have a good time in Disneyland in the summer because you'll wait 3 hours for a ride, for like a 20-second ride, and then that's your whole day. Although the atmosphere is really fun, I really don't suggest doing those like tourist heavy things during the summer. The one amazing thing about summer is that you will get the true Omatsuri festival experience, and I live for that because I was born in the summer and I grew up next to my shrine, so that it was everything I looked forward to every year. That was my Christmas, so I could never get over wanting to be in Japan during Omatsuri season, which is the summer. Winter is amazing in Japan. They take Christmas to a whole new level because it's not religious for them, and it's really just about the aesthetic, so they really have very competitive, beautiful illumination things all the time in the city and in countryside areas. And obviously the spring you have the sakura blossoms, which are just one of a kind, and I read somewhere a long time ago that they're dying, so I feel like that's perhaps why everybody's trying to get to Japan lately. Yeah, go see the sakura blossoms in the spring. My personal favorite is the autumn because the weather is fair. Like I said, everything is cheap, everything is easy to kind of get around with. But I did go in the winter most recently, and although it was so painfully cold, I really enjoyed it. I think I just missed really intense seasons, extreme weather. I missed extreme weather. Next is from Justin Q at Quizno Forever. Any recommendations for places to eat around the Tokyo area? Well, specifically, not really. My favorite ramen place is Menya Musashi. I think there are some actually scattered around the world. Ippudo is also one of my favorites. There's a one in New York City also. But there's a Ippudo in Yokohama that I really enjoy. And there's also this thing called, nandakke, abura ramen dakke? It's called oil ramen, and it sounds really gross, but it's kind of like a brothless but non-dip ramen that has really concentrated sauce for broth. Anyway, it's in the same area as the Ippudo in Yokohama. And then for sushi, okay, here's the thing about Japan. Everything tastes generally really good, so you kind of want to go about it with preferences and then price range. So preferences, like if you specifically want something that's like tonkatsu, like you want breaded pork fillet dishes and like curry or like homey foods, you are gonna have, I think, an easy time going to a department store or train station, actually, because they have a lot of amazing food options in the upper floors, and you can kind of tell how they're priced out. And also, especially in somewhere like Tokyo Station, where they have something like Ramen Street, and right near it they have literally Food Street, you can kind of find anything there. So if you're stuck on what to eat and you're a little bit unsure and you kind of don't want to necessarily go into a hole in the wall because there's no reviews on it anywhere, checking out the train stations and checking out the department stores that are close to train stations and looking at the upper floors or looking at the most bottom floors would probably be a good idea. Next is from Katie at Etiquette. What do I do if I get lost in Japan and don't speak Japanese fluently? Okay, this is a little, I get it, that's really scary. You should ask somebody to direct you to the closest train station or, I guess, police box. The police officer police box will 100% be able to direct you to somebody who speaks English if they themselves don't speak English. And then at a train station, there will always be an information booth person that speaks English. I'm talking about the city, by the way. This isn't really the case for the countryside, but yeah, you want to go to like a public officer or a train station, I think. So what you want to ask is, Eki wa doko desu ka? Which is, where is the train station? Eki is train station. Eki wa doko desu ka? That's not going to be enough, because what if they're like over there and you're not going to know what that means? So you want to say something like, Eki made annai shite kuremasu ka? Eki made annai shite kuremasu ka? That means, could you basically direct me to the train station? The connotation behind this, though, is like, could you kind of bring me there? But if they can't bring you there, they'll show you how to get there. Like if you open up Google Maps, they'll be like, oh, go here, go here, go here. So that is the best thing to do, I believe. I think it's terrifying, but I really like that there's a hub to always get to. If you go to a train station, you're gonna be fine. That's like your center for everything. I wonder if there's an easier way to say this politely. 駅はどこですか? 駅まで案内してくれますか? 駅までどうやって行けばいいんですか? どうやったら駅まで着きますか? 駅までどのくらい、駅はどの方向にありますか? どこ、駅はここでいいんですか? 駅まで行きたいんですけど、駅まで、やっぱり駅まで案内してくれますかな? 駅まで連れてってください。おかしいよね。I think the one really useful piece of information in order to not be rude and be respectful in Japan would simply to keep to yourself and be quiet. That is what Japan deems as polite, to be quiet and to be in your own bubble. And although that sounds not friendly, and when you need their help, please do go ask for their help, because they'll be more than willing. Other than that, there's no need to kind of engage in conversation with people. Obviously, it's different if you're with a host family, or if you're in a school, or if you're in a group or something like that. But if you're kind of just out on your own and you're maybe a little bit more in the countryside and you're not quite sure what the etiquette is, rule of thumb is to be quiet and stay to yourself. Keep to yourself. And that's honestly all the time I have right now. Not only am I running out of batteries, but I actually have to get to a live stream soon. Thank you again to everyone who participated, and I really appreciate that you guys had some interesting questions. I hope I was able to give you at least some kind of insight. I hope I was somewhat helpful. Please like the video if you enjoyed it, and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. I will leave some links in the description below about my other Japan travel related videos, so check them out if you are interested. Thank you again so much for watching and participating. Let me know in the comment section below what the most surprising thing about Japan is, or like what you find to be the most WTF about Japan, and I'll check them out. Thank you again so much for watching. そんじゃまたね。